Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealthspan. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real-life stories and cutting-edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effects this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Hacktivators. Now, I am so excited about the guest that I have on the show this week. And she really doesn't need any introduction at all. But hey, I'm going to introduce her anyway. She is an Emmy Award-winning broadcaster. She's Sunday Times best-selling author, actress, TV presenter, and the UK's best-loved agony aunt. It is Coleen Nolan. Yes, I'm in the mood for dancing. Coleen, of course, she started her career in the entertainment industry with her 5 sisters, the Nolan sisters, who then went on to become a global smash hit. And since then, the sisters have had some incredibly tough health issues and tough decisions to make, which we talk about on the show. Coleen made her transition from pop star to TV presenter in 1999, when she then debuted on Loose Women on ITV back in the year 2000. 20 years. Can you believe that? 2 decades of Loose Women on our screens. 2 fabulous decades, I must add. And very interestingly, over the past few years, Coleen and her daughter have both become vegan. And we talk about why this has been so important for them, both in the experience they've had for the changes in their physical and emotional health as well. Welcome to the show, Coleen. You know that I have been so looking forward to this conversation. But before we get going, I must tell you this. I must tell you that my husband is probably even more thrilled than me because he's a complete Loose Women fan.
Oh, really?
So, totally. So I have to tell you, he's a dentist, right? So you know when you go to your dentist and you're lying back on that chair. So he's got TVs up on his screen. Yeah. So that's there, to entertain the patients. But he's also got this TV just at his eye line.
Finally, a man that admits to loving Loose Women. I love that. Very brave.
Oh, totally. And look, he tells me it's for his patients, of course. But we've got it on series record at home as well. So I don't know how he gets away with that. Yeah. But look, wonderful. So look, I've been reading, of course, all about all of your accolades and all your achievements and all your appearances, and the list is endless, isn't it? You've been winning Big Brother and you've been semi-finalist on Dancing on Ice, and then there's your 6 bestseller books, and I even read that your cleavage has even won an Emmy Award.
Oh, I know. Well, it's about time they won an award, I have to say.
Oh, I love that. But look, I think, behind that, of course, there's an important message as well, isn't there? And some real tough times that you've had as well. So I really wondered if I could start there, because I know that health is very, very important to you. Your fans and followers will know that as well because of the health of your family as well. And certainly your sisters, they've been so open about their breast cancer journey as well. But I really wanted to know what it was like for you. What's it been like for you, just being part of their journey through such hard times and times of uncertainty, really?
When Anne and Linda went into remission and we thought, okay, we're good, they're doing well. And then Bernie got it. And sadly, she had it for like 3 years and sadly passed away. And as a family, you all try and stay strong. And the thing is, all 3 of them were so strong. They battled it head on and they never gave up. And so you feel that you always have to be brave for them. But sometimes I have to say I did cry myself to sleep. And then selfishly you go, well, which one of us is it going to hit next? Because, it was quite rare for it to hit 3 sisters in one family. So obviously you do worry about it, but then I don't know. I think it's just one of those things, isn't it? I've met so many people since with cancer who you have to carry on living and just fight it as much as you can. You know, Linda now, Anne is in total, Anne's has gone now. Linda's came back, and now it's not curable, but it's treatable. But, you know, she battles it every day, and every day is still going out and still loving life. She's probably loving life more now because she's realised, you know, how unsure it is. But she's amazing. As was Bernie right till the end. My sister Bernie, you know, very positive. I guess that's all you can be. But obviously, it's a worry all the time. I'm very vigilant at checking myself.
Yeah. And you're right, you know, when something hits so close to home, so close in terms of your family as well, as much as, of course, you're there as a support for them, there's no doubt that those seeds about your own health and your own morbidity, mortality, your own journey, your own decisions are going to, you know, there's moments where you do start to question and challenge your own decisions as well. So how has this then affected your decisions that you've made about your health and watching your sisters go through their tough times? Have you had tough decisions that you've had to make for yourself?
Yes, it definitely does make you question your own mortality. And I started to get a little bit, quite a lot of anxiety about dying, actually. Oh, I'm be next. And, but actually it was during lockdown, because I had lots of other like joint issues. You know, I had a bad back, I had bad hips, I had bursitis in both hips, I had plantar fasciitis in both feet. And I was literally, even getting up off the couch to go and put the kettle on, I looked like an old woman. And my kids were like, Mum, you know, this is, you know, by the time you're 60, you're going to need a mobility scooter. Because honestly, I was just in constant pain and taking painkillers. And then me and my daughter watched a couple of documentaries on telly, one of which was called What the Health, and it was about veganism and vegetarianism and just kind of the health benefits. And she had a lot of issues as well. My daughter's only 21, but she had a lot of gynecological issues that she was dealing with. And we were both being given tablets and all that, which we took, and I'm sure they helped. But we thought, you know what, we've got nothing to lose. And I was just scared. I just thought, I'm not going to be able to, you know, go for walks with my children, and I am getting older, and I do think you have to take responsibility for that. You know, when you're younger, you get an ache and then the next day it's gone. But I'm 57. Yeah. They're hanging around now, making me realize I need to get a grip. So it's just massively, you know, it's just massively helped me.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, there's always those signals, aren't there? Even that little twinge at 27, it's a sign that something needs to change. But then what happens is you think, I'll just push through it. I'm okay. And you kind of push on and you push on and you push on. And especially for someone like you, where you're busy and you're successful and you're ambitious and everything else is coming before you. So is that something you've noticed? Is you someone who puts everyone first? Oh, and then it's me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely with my kids. I mean, I say kids, they're all adults now. But even now, you know, if one of my kids is in pain or has got something wrong, I'm like, okay, we need to go to the doctors and we need to do this and we need to do that. But whenever it was me, it was always, oh, I'll do it next week. I haven't got time.
Yeah.
You know, because I'd be going to London to do Loose Women, or I'd be off filming something else. And you generally think, I haven't got time. I can't fit a doctor's appointment in. But then if one of my kids was ill, I'd take a day off work. I'd be like, no, I can't come to work because my child's ill.
Yeah.
But I think women do that a lot as well. Actually, they do tend to put, when they have children, or even if they don't have children, they've got husbands, whatever. I think women are very much putting other people in front of them before themselves. Yeah. And I definitely do that.
And why? Why do you think that is? Why do women do it? And I think it's men and women alike. I certainly know lots of, you know, successful businessmen, for example, who are, you know, pushing themselves and then don't think about their health. Yeah. But you're right, you know, especially for women when we've got sort of all these multiple roles to juggle. But what do you think it is innately about us that does that?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's a subconscious fear of I don't want to know actually what's wrong with me, or if they say, well, you need to have, 2 months off work, and you think I can't. If you're self-employed and the only breadwinner in the house, which is what I am, it's kind of like I haven't got time. But it's a ridiculous thought process, because if you don't listen to your body and you don't listen to the health experts, all of a sudden that month off work will be 6 months off work, because something will give, So that's what I've tried to avoid, really.
Yeah. And it's a great big mantra of mine, which is, if you don't have time for your health today, you won't have health for your time tomorrow.
Oh, I love that.
And if you just let that soak in, you realize the gravitas of that foundation for everything that you're doing comes from your health. And you noticed that, didn't you, with your aches and pains when you couldn't move, as well as without that level of health, you can't even get on and do the stuff that you know is going to make a difference to others.
No, that's so true. And also you're not enjoying it as much, because I was going to work, but I was on painkillers because I was in pain. So it was kind of, I need to work, sort this pain out, and then I'll be able to enjoy what I'm doing. So they kind of work hand in hand.
Absolutely. It is that, isn't it? It's that sense of like, you've got to take care of yourself. The number of ways that you can say, we call these things sort of teachable moment in medicine as well. That moment something goes wrong is the moment you decide you're going to do something about your health, about your self-care. But why do we wait for that? Because there's so many signs before that. You don't just one day wake up and get this diagnosis of the bursitis or the or the diabetes, and this is not about you not it's your fault or blame or anything like that, but if only we just slow down to just tune into those signals. Our body and mind are amazing and constantly giving us signs, but we don't pay attention, and then they've got to shout out really loud to us, right? Let me get back to your food choices and veganism. So why that then, of all the health decisions that you could possibly have made? Why this one?
I think because I got to a point where I thought I've got nothing to lose. I was having physio all the time. I was on painkillers. A lot of what I had was to do with inflammation. And a lot of it was, I've got a bad back. I've got a bad disc in my back. So everything else was compensating for this disc. And that's why I ended up with bursitis, and then the plantar fasciitis. My knees was just everything. And I just researched about, food and how that affects you, because I don't think people know how much food really, affects your health. And me and my daughter just sat there and said, we've got nothing to lose, so why don't we try it? And it made a massive difference. I haven't had bursitis or plantar fasciitis since. I'll always have, my back's been fine, but it'll always be, now and again, my back's like, it aches because the disc is bad. But it's just made a massive difference for us. And I would never cancel out, medicine, the medical profession. I'd always do both now. If ever I get something, I'll always combine it with the two, conventional medicine. But it just works for me. And I can only go on, it works for me. And I'm not one of these now that goes round with, placards, saying you should all be vegans, because I think people do have a choice. But I think it was, I had to tell people that, listen, it really helped me.
And I love that you're doing it that way, because I have to say, food and diet it's one of those polarizing conversations, isn't it? People do get totally sort of in their camp, in their corner of the boxing ring when they're talking about their food choices. And there is so much mixed publicity about veganism. And, you've probably got a real mixed response when you tell people you're vegan or tell them about your journey. What kind of responses have you had?
Horrendous, actually. The majority is awful. People go, oh, no, you're not one of them, are you? And, oh, God, you just eat lettuce now then. So you just eat vegetables. And I'm like, no, I don't just eat vegetables. And if I do eat vegetables, they're really good. I think they just see that as what veganism is, that you just eat, salad. And I used to think that. I genuinely used to think, I couldn't be vegan because I don't like anything. that they eat. But I'm eating better and nicer stuff. I have to say, I'm like 100% vegetarian, and I'm probably 80% vegan. Vegan, I have found quite hard just because of I love dairy. Not cheese, actually. I don't love cheese, but I do love dairy. So I have found that hard, and sometimes it's hard because I do so much traveling. And a lot of places you go, or if I go around to a friend's house and they go, oh, I've only got semi-skimmed milk. I don't want to be this person that goes, well, I'm not coming around unless you've got all vegan stuff in. So I'll be like, do you know what? It's one cup of tea. It's fine. But definitely wouldn't eat meat again. And the reason, the meat thing now initially started all to do with health. And then obviously since then I've researched it more and more. It's obviously now to do with animals. And I just find it hard to eat animals.
Yeah, no, and I understand, and I think that approach that you have, which is people are kind of all on a transition, and it's not about sort of fighting one corner or another, but recognizing kind of people's journeys through that, and really thinking about what the benefits you're personally getting.
Yeah.
I mean, we know with things like breast cancer, for example, or cancers in meat. Again, there's so much research about what happens when you cook meats, and they release these chemicals which are called heterocyclamines, and they're found to then increase your risks of cancers. And I think part of it is people almost don't want to know this, because then it means that they might need to change the lifestyle that they've been so accustomed to. But I think when it comes to lifestyle changes, what you've just described is that sort of transition and that little bit of that ebb and flow, instead of what we often find is that, you're very strict and it can have another ripple effect. And you've described, you don't want to lose friendships and relationships over that. So I think that's important. But once you know something, you can't unknow what you know.
Exactly. I find what's amazing is that because I have researched it to a degree, that when people ask me and then I tell them what I researched and what I know now, it's what you said. They don't want to know because they don't. And I was like that, I was like, well, I don't want to give up dairy, and I like meat, but it took a health scare for me to go, I need to do something. And also I lost about 2.5 stone because I started eating better, and I cut out all the rubbish I was eating. The weight came off. So of course all the inflammation as well died down a bit, so it all works hand in hand, really.
Oh, and absolutely. There's such a synergy and an interconnect between everything that we do and every mouthful that we're putting in our mouth as a choice. And you've got to make fun of food fun. You've got to use it. Memories associated with food, haven't we? Well, our moms used to feed us, and it's connecting and it's warming. But we've also got to make sure that it doesn't take a health scare or something awful to happen for that realization to sink in that I have a choice about what goes in my mouth. And, if everyone just did the simplest thing of deprocessing their food, just going more plant focused, it doesn't mean that, meat's off the agenda and you can't have a good time, but where's your focus? If for you, 80% of the time, your focus is on sort of eating vegetables, getting all those phytonutrients in. And I love that you've mentioned inflammation, because that sits right at the root of everything. Yeah. And you noticed that difference, didn't you?
Yeah, almost within 2 weeks, I noticed the difference. And actually, I say I noticed, it was actually one of my daughter's friends that noticed, because she came round and I was sitting on the sofa, and I said, oh, do you want a cup of tea? And she said, yeah. And I got up and she went, oh my God, you just got off the couch. And I was like, what do you mean? And she went, last time I was here, I had to help you because of my back and my feet. And I went, oh God, yeah, I have. I literally just got up, and it was kind of, oh wow, that was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because it is that immediate as well, and also, did you notice any added benefits? So what was the sort of ripple effect from making that change?
Everything health-wise, I noticed. And then things like my hair and my nails grew, like my hair just grows and grows. And because I'm menopausal, so a lot of my work colleagues and my sisters, in the menopause, they lost a lot of hair. Hair was one of their biggest losses really. And they kept saying, "Why is your hair growing and mine's falling out?" And all I could put it down to was this whole change of lifestyle, that I was obviously putting the right nutrients back in my body that I'd been neglecting, because I was
Yeah.
never really a healthy eater. But I probably eat more now. I just eat better stuff. And my daughter, who had the worst diet I've ever known in my life of anyone, now is cooking, lunch and dinners every day from scratch, knows everything about food, is loving it. And that for me
Yeah.
even is such a bonus, because I used to really worry about her diet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, brilliant. And I love again that this is kind of, the family tendencies are
Yeah.
changing. That kind of modeling that you're
Mm.
doing has kind of filtered through. There's some fun with food as well, and real connection through that as well. And definitely sort of vegetables, fruits, seeds, beans, nuts, grains, they're all the things that we know reduce inflammation, which is at the core of pretty much everything, even aging. I have to say, I mean, you mentioned you're 57,
Yeah.
did you say,
Yeah. Yeah.
Coleen?
Yeah. 57, 58 in a couple of months, but I'm still 57.
Of course, of course. So here's a question for you then. How long would you like to live for?
Oh, do you know what? I'd like to live, if I could stay how I am now, health wise, even though I've still got,
Yeah.
aches and pains now and again. If I could stay like this mentally as well, I'd like to live forever. But I only want to live as long as possible while I've got a quality of life. If I've no quality of life, then, my mum passed away from Alzheimer's, and I
Mm.
watched her for 5 years just disappear in front of me. And I didn't want her to live any longer. I wanted her to go. And I remember then thinking, if I end up like that, I'd want to go. But if I can stay healthy-ish and mentally
Mm.
healthy, then forever. It wouldn't. I love life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and I love hearing you say that, because there's just so much in this world for us,
Yeah,
and that's just waiting for us as well, isn't there?
yeah,
And that sense of having your sort of what I call your health span and your lifespan being the same. You want to be healthy throughout your life. And then when it ends, you haven't had those last
yes,
5, 10, 15 years in struggle. So that's really kind of refreshing to hear, I have to say, because that's, certainly one of the missions on this show is to get people to have that luster for life
mm,
and want to live a long life, but at their most optimal, where their health really kind of is at the forefront.
yeah,
But what we often do as well, Colleen, is we look at age, that number,
mm-hmm,
like you have, I'm
mm-hmm,
57, and use that as your guide for your zest for life in a way, and how old you are. But there's now tests that you can have that tell you internally how old you are. I mean, would you like to know? Would you want to know
no.
whether you are? Yeah. Why not?
No, I just don't. It's like there's tests now to see if you are prone or could be prone to Alzheimer's. I
Mm,
don't want to know, because I think then my mind would focus solely on that, and I don't want to. I just don't want to. I mean, it's things like with Alzheimer's. I guess knowing how old you are internally, you could maybe reverse that, I suppose.
mm,
But
yeah.
knowing something like, if you carry a gene for Alzheimer's and there's no cure really for Alzheimer's, you know, having seen my mother go through it, I couldn't cope with that. If it happens, it happens. Um, but
Mm,
yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just think we all know a bit too much. Life's exciting
mm,
because you don't know what's around the corner. And that's why I love every day that I'm here. And I appreciate
yeah.
it, because I don't know what's going to happen. I might not be here next year, God forbid. But
Mm,
and I think losing my sister made me really appreciate life more. And every time, and don't get me wrong, there are hard days, as we know, for everyone. It's not easy. Um, but having lost my sister, whenever I have a really down day or a hard day, or I just think I'm fed up, I always think my sister would love to be here, feeling fed up, even, or going through this hard time, but she's not. She died at 53, and that always kind of snaps me out of it. But yeah, I don't know. I'd rather live in ignorant bliss, I think.
Yeah, and I totally understand why, because there is that balance of certainty and uncertainty about, as you say, needing
Mm,
spontaneity and needing stability. And, we're often sort of dancing that dance, aren't we, with what do I want? What do I want to know? Do I not want
yeah.
to know? Be the kind of ostrich with my head in the sand. What will be, will be. But it's a fascinating time that we're living
Mm,
in as well, where there's so many genes that we can carry, for example, that we don't have to fire the trigger on.
mm,
So just like you've changed things by changing your food choices, even with things like Alzheimer's, there may be a gene, but it doesn't mean that that gene is active
mm,
for you. And how can you deactivate it
mm,
with the things that you do by sleeping differently or moving differently or eating differently?
yeah.
And there's so much more sort of now in our hands, that sometimes the hard bit about knowing gives you the nudge to do something different. Just like with you, you've got your nudge because something was painful in your
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. But then sometimes I think because of this year in particular, I don't know why it's been this year, or maybe the last couple of years, um, I think I've got to an age where you do start questioning your mortality. I mean, all my kids now are adults, and I've gone through that
Mm.
stage of, I mean, just thinking, oh, I'm surplus to requirements, like no one needs me now. And I've kind of battled through that. And my kids are
Yeah.
always like, Mum, we'll always need you. Even for a fiver, that they need to borrow. But I don't know. I think one of my biggest fears is dying. I don't want to. So the thoughts of somebody telling me, well, the way you are now, you're probably going to live to your 70. I, from this minute, will start counting the hours down. And I don't want to. I'd rather
Mm.
assume I'm going to live
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, and no one has that certainty,
No,
do we? We
no.
have, no one can ever give you that. All you can think about is, what do I want to do to maximize my chances
Yeah,
of living forever,
yeah,
or living in the best of health. And that's what you want to grab and run with and rock and roll
yeah.
with, even as you say, on those down days
Mm,
it feels difficult, or those difficult memories come back. It's that, isn't it? It's, you've got this sense that, yeah, I'm important in this one. I've got a lot more that I want to be, do, and see and contribute as well. I mean, your contributions have been incredible. The stuff that you've done. I mean, you definitely have had a zest for life, for sure.
well, yeah, I have. I mean, I don't even know if it was a zest for life. I was kind of brought into it. I was working from the age of 2 with my family, so it's kind of all I've ever done. Sometimes
Yeah.
I've got a zest for life, but I'm actually quite lazy when it comes to work. Because my favorite place to be is at home. So, my manager phones me up and goes, oh, this is coming. I go, oh, how long am I going to be away for? That's my first thing. Um, because it's all I've ever done. So it just feels like my life kind of now. I never had that growing up as a child going, when I'm older, I want to be a pop star, or I want to be a TV presenter. It was just kind of happened. But I'm very, very grateful, and I do love what I do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
So what do you want to be when you grow up then, Coleen?
I don't want to grow up. I don't know really. I mean, one thing that's on my bucket list is strictly come dancing. I would love to have a go at that, just because I love dancing. I'd love to
Yeah.
learn how to dance properly. And it's probably the one reality show that I've never been asked to do, or even had an interview for. And it's probably the only one I'd actually say yes to at the drop of a hat. But I've done the others, which were a good challenge, dancing on ice and Big Brother.
We'll get this show out to the people who need to listen
Yeah.
and hear it here. Coleen wants to be
To be
dancing.
honest, I think they're sick of hearing about it, because every time I'm on my Loose Women, I keep going, can you get me on Strictly, please? And I think now they're just like, will you just lock her away somewhere?
Brilliant. Look, make sure you just keep your hips moving, okay?
Yeah,
Because it's going to happen and it's going to come. So just make sure those hips are in full swing.
absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. So let's wrap up. Look, we could carry on chatting, but what is your final message then for listeners about prioritizing their health? What would you say?
I would say that, we prioritize so many other things. And when other things break down, we instantly get them fixed. We have our cars MOT'd every year. If a wheel goes flat, we get it sorted. And yet we don't do it with ourselves. We should be MOTing ourselves every 6 months at least, and just checking. And like you said, you start to feel something's not right, go and sort it out. Don't leave it till, like I did, where I could hardly move. And just, if you want to live a great life, the best way to do it is by looking after yourself.
Oh, yeah, no, brilliant message. And I love that analogy with the car as well. So if you imagine you were given one car for the whole of your life and you were not allowed to get another car for your whole life, wouldn't you take care of that car? That makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Totally true.
This is it. One life, right? We've got to do the maintenance on it.
Don't want to be an old banger at the end of it, do we?
You are no old hanger, Coleen. You have completely uplifted me and invigorated me as well. Lovely. Thank you so much, Coleen. It's been fabulous.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I must say, I found that conversation quite tough. Just hearing Coleen talk so openly about how hard it's been for her family and all that fear and anxiety that she now has just regarding her own health and her own mortality. It is hard. Illness is a hard pill to swallow. And I get it. Sometimes you just don't want to know. You just don't want to know what could be round the corner. Or you want to ignore what's already there. And that ostrich approach, taking that ostrich approach, burying your head in the sand, it can feel like the easier thing to do, can't it? But here is the thing. Sometimes the easier thing isn't the effective thing. Yeah, sometimes the easier thing isn't the effective thing. It might be easier to carry on eating what you eat, sleeping how you sleep, working how you work. Then nothing changes. But look at Coleen. She made a decision to change because, well, hey, you heard her. She wants to live forever. Now, look, mortality and immortality. Well, immortality is not something I can deliver to you on this show, but living a 1,000,000-hour life, that is what this show is about. That is an achievable option. And I want to give you as many ways as I can to live a long, energized, active life as possible. So that's why in my health hacks this week, I'm going to dive deep into cancer. Because cancer takes away years from your life and life from your years. Fear, anxiety, it can all have a significant impact on the quality of your life. Even, as you heard from Coleen, even if you're not the one with the cancer, but if it's affected a loved one. So what I'm more specifically going to do is look at breast cancer in the next episode. There's 150 new cases of breast cancer diagnosed every single day and over 30 deaths a day from breast cancer in the UK. And I know there are other stats as well. So whilst 9 out of 10 women do survive with breast cancer for over 5 years, the impact of this on the quality of your life is significant, which means prevention is a priority. So do this. Tap into the next episode where I will be giving you some hacks following on from Coleen's conversation today about being vegetarian, about how a plant focus can help and what you can eat that will help you to prevent breast cancer. I wish you a health activating day.